soullessness. But with all the severity of the world, that is like you literally lack a soul. If I were their father, for example, then I would ask them, where the fuck is your soul?
You gotta give them the feeling they have a soul. But at the same time, you yourself must not depend on their soul at all. What I used to want is just, oh, you are seeing this the wrong way. Let me explain it to you, and we can go along together. And I
Right.
used to do this, but you always get attacked.
If you lose the capacity to see the beauty behind the lack of the soul, then you start losing your soul. Like you have fallen in the trap. They're not IQ dumb, but they're extremely dumb in another way that is just weird, that is actually soullessness. But with all the severity of the world, that is like you literally lack a soul. And you cannot see it clearly.
But
And
not
people-
literally, right? Not literally.
No, like seriously. Like it's not a metaphor to say that you're fucked in a way. Because outwardly they're not even fucked up outwardly. So they cause this mental like cognitive dissonance of some sorts, because it's like if you see a person like that and they're like completely destroyed, it's like like it sucks in general, but at least it makes some sort of sense. But these people are outwardly, at least according to them, they seem fine. They seem fine, and they have a lot of money and whatnot, But I can sense this utter lack of something else that I call the soul, precisely because I cannot put my finger on it, what it is. It's like I cannot even accuse them of anything. And I don't judge them of anything, but there is something missing that is very profound and very wicked in a way. It's like very dark, but it's hidden behind the old paraphernalia and all the show and all the stuff.
Yeah, I get completely what you mean by that lacking and that creepiness and the outwardly it seems very high IQ and good, the high performance. But I don't like you're missing a soul in a way, because that's like objectively that's not true, right? Everyone has a soul. You might have sold your soul, neglected it. You might not know that you have a soul,
Or you're
but
living in the lies.
they have a
way of
soul,
putting it.
right?
Right. Yeah, but they're acting as if they don't. That's a good way of putting it, because I don't know. I mean,
Yes,
could you
but what
actually
I
lose your
think I think saying that they don't have a soul, or like they don't have a soul, or the soul is missing, I think that makes it harder for those people to make a change, because probably the only way you can act that way is if you don't know anything about souls, or if you already think you don't have a soul. So in a way, if people from the outside who see this lack in you start saying you don't have a soul, which is not really true, this makes it worse in a way,
I
just like
agree
the
with that.
modern woman that is a
I agree with
whore
that.
or a slut.
Yes,
And
I agree 100% with
I
that.
also constantly call them whores and sluts. It's hard to do it better, but I think
Yeah,
this reinforces the thing.
that's a good point. So I would change it there, and I would ask them, if I were their father, for example, then I would ask them, where the fuck is your soul? Because it assumes that you have it somewhere, but you clearly, something is going on. Something is going on. Where's the poop? Like what's going on?
Yes, the trick in attitude is, I'm not an expert, but I've learned a bit. The trick in attitude about these soul things is you gotta assume indeed, where is it? Hey,
Yeah.
get it now. Why did you show up without it? So you give them a sort of trust that they have it, that they can get it sort of easily. and
Yes.
that's nice. That's good for them. But at the same time, you yourself must not depend on their soul at all. You for
Right.
yourself must just feel they don't have a soul. They're just a clump of cells. They're just NPC.
Right.
I'm never gonna see anything of soul coming towards me from that person,
And
so
that's
you can
fine.
have peace, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
in the way you talk to them, you gotta give them the feeling they have a soul, and
Yes.
that's
A really
very
good point.
difficult if you because you yourself get mixed up in it also. If you say you have a
Right.
soul, go do something with your soul, you start hoping, you start expecting things from them, and then it doesn't come, or it comes too late, or it's too little, and then you are suffering. So that's the difficulty
That's really
here.
interesting stuff. Yes. 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 Yeah, because you do. If you lose the capacity to see the beauty behind the lack of the soul, then you start losing your soul. Like you have fallen in the trap because then you
Yes,
regard
yes.
them. Yeah. So it is important, as you said, it was really good. Like on the practical aspect, it's like, yes, these people are all soulless, and I'm not gonna hang out around that. Basically, I'm not gonna like expect anything out of it. Like, and I'm gonna allow myself to see that. But at the same time, yeah, like you have to be able to, almost mourn in a way, you know, almost mourn, because there is like behind this satanic ego or whatever you want to call it, like this weird soulless thing, at least is the essence that we all have, that which you could say the soul, or like the essence
Hmm.
of God stuff, right? Even if it's possible that a human being could actually like lose for completely the connection, at least the essence, so to speak, like the fact that we can also have that connection, you have to keep it. Like you cannot, the moment you start losing sight of that, then you start falling into the game, which in a
Yes.
way is what evil wants.
Yeah, and an interesting thing that I hate and love about Christians is that Christians are very proactive with saying you are loved, right? Jesus loves you. You are an important being in a way. That's a lot of their message of the Christian missionaries is that. But at the same time, they say that to you, but then they also want you to share your essence with them and join the faith.
And
They
to
want
take
you
it
to be
away.
grateful, to
Yeah.
like Jesus died for your sins, and you, so now you're obligated to do things with Jesus, right?
Right,
And
because
you see the both things, but what's really good and also quite, I think, quite unique, I think the Christians do this the most, is this reaching out of, you do have a soul, there is something in there, this faith of the heart still being in these people, and that's what I like about the Christians. But yeah, there's the caveat that there's also a pull, they want something back, and the best would be to want nothing back, right? Hey, completely independent, but have the same faith in the other person, in a way.
yeah, I think interestingly, and again in parallel with what we're talking, you can only really become detached from the expectation when you also genuinely see the fact, maybe even, that we are sons of God. Like when you understand that, then you can see both. At least the way that I grew up in my life, I can see some of that. That is like when I finally saw clearly evil in people, so to speak, and that it was just simply that, but without the reaction to it that was pulling me down towards it. It was also when I also saw clearly that it's like, okay, like there is something like the soul, that there is something that transcends the everything else and goes up into the principle of all being, or whatever, which you can call God or whatever, that is connected to it. And it happened at the same, they grew together as well. So that's also like a really weird paradox. That is like, love includes allowing the other person to also go to hell. It's not only that,
Yeah.
but it includes that.
Yes. Yeah. What helped me recently to see better is I discovered how the left, the normie left, how they see the world, how they see our society, how they see my role or my group's role in that society, right? My type. I discovered how they see that. And I thought, if you assume the world is like this, then their behavior makes sense, actually, right? I could suddenly, yeah, if this is your assumption that society works like this, that I am like that, then what you're doing makes perfect sense, and it's very rational to do. And I noticed, but that's this story that they believe in. I don't think it's true at all. But I realized they believe in this story. All of them believe in it at the same time. There is no hope of convincing them or trying to see it another. It's too deep. It's too big. It's too strong. They
Yes.
just see it that way. And because I saw the impossibility of what I want, because what I used to want is just, you are seeing this the wrong way. Let me explain it to you, and we can go along together. And I used to do this, but you always get attacked, and never, and it was very weird and painful that happened. But I now I just saw their story. I can understand it a bit, and and because I saw the impossibility, I don't know, in a way I became also more accepting of it. I thought they believe that, and
Yeah.
it's a thing. The thing that they believe is also not even that unrealistic. Like trans women are women, stuff like that is unrealistic, right? But most of them don't really believe that. It's just a buzzword. Like people of the right might be very racist or pro Hitler or whatever. It's maybe many of them would sort of be aligned, but not really. It's just a thing that floats around. And but the more the core of their story, I thought, well, this story, the way you see the word, this is possible. This is the world could indeed be arranged in this way. This is a realistic story. I don't think it's the case, but at least the story itself makes sense, is possible to exist somewhere on Earth. It doesn't exist, or it probably does exist, but not to the degree they think it does. And yeah, so yeah, that's the beginning of understanding, right? And you don't get sucked into the the darkness of it all if you
Well,
can see it like that.
yeah, that's really interesting.